So here's the good news in Boston. Gordon Hayward has chosen the Celtics as his next employer. They will have the privilege of paying him $128 million over the next 4 seasons. But that could mean some difficult decisions as they try and free up enough cap room to accommodate his max deal. And 3 guys in particular who are thought to be part of the long-term plan are in the spotlight as potential sources of cap relief. While it isn't the only route possible, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, or Marcus Smart could be on the way out to free up the requisite space. From all, let's welcome in ESPN Radio's Ryan Russillo, who's in the studio with us this morning, and front office insider Tom Penn joining us from Los Angeles. And Tom, I want to start with you. There are reports that Celtics may trade Jay Crowder to the Jazz in a sign and trade for Gordon Hayward. Why would the Celtics essentially give Crowder away since they've already agreed with Hayward?
Yeah, how about it? Jay Crowder was the player that a lot of teams said the Celtics did not want to trade in these earlier iterations, whether it was at the last trade deadline or over the summer here. So the reason they do it is just to clear up enough space. They don't have enough space to accommodate Hayward. Now, they don't need to move all $6.8 million of Crowder, but if they do that, they would come up with another $5+ million of room to play with if they just moved him out. Or they may be getting another player back in return. So if they put Jay Crowder in the deal, maybe they get a big back who can protect the rim. Or maybe they get cap flexibility that allows them to go sign a player like JaVale McGee or someone who might come in and protect the rim. I don't know what they're hearing for any of these players, but it's really interesting to see those 3 names thrown around because they've been critical rotation players for the Celtics coming into this year. And you know, they had a heck of a team, a balanced team, and now you start really messing with chemistry to accommodate Gordon Hayward.
You know, and to that point, Ryan, I want to ask you, you know, obviously they're going to have to part with a rotation player to get there where they need to go. Do you think Crowder shipping him out is the right move?
Well, it probably makes the most sense because of how some of the positions duplicate. Like, I'm not as worried about positions in today's NBA because it's almost like just throw as many guys out there that can find a way to get a bucket. But Crowder was incensed even when they were cheering for Gordon Hayward when he came to visit. And he's like, look, I'm pretty good. And Crowder is a really good player. But he's also somebody who has cost certainty who this is not just giving him away. Like, I imagine some sort of asset would be coming back. And as Tom references, they still need somebody big around the rim. Like, we're trying to already rank these teams in free agency. We're not a week into this thing. So they may look at this as, yeah, we didn't want to lose Crowder, but we still get the Hayward deal done. Now we have some relief somewhere else. But you also have to remember, every decision is not just about this summer or this year. Because if it wasn't Crowder, who's still under contract for 3 years, it could be a Bradley or a Smart, who they then have to worry about their next contract. So you can't just make sure you're keeping every one of these guys and maxing them out to these massive deals. So this deal with Hayward, they knew there was another piece they were going to have to lose, not just because of the cap this year, but because of all the contracts coming up.
Sometimes you're just too reasonable. I want answers after just 1 week of NBA free agency. Come on, Ryan.
Yeah, because some of these teams, I'm like, I don't know I can rank them yet. There's like 7 guys under contract.
And those guys' cap numbers are obsolete, as you said earlier, which is interesting.
Yeah, right.
Using the word reasonable, I'm trying to. We're going to try to for this next story. Okay. We learned last night that the Cavaliers offered Chauncey Billups a well below market offer to be their president of basketball operations. Let's bring back Tom here. Given the Cavs' history under Dan Gilbert, the owner, with this position, if you're a rising candidate, why would you consider going to Cleveland when you are hearing that, you know, the average for this position is around $4 million around the league, and the offer that Chauncey got was less than $2 million per?
I'm not sure why the money really matters here. I mean, it's supposed to matter, but in this case, Chauncey's made a boatload of dough. I would think he'd be more interested in the right fit and the opportunity to succeed. He's never done this job. He's a rookie GM. If you look at other rookie comparable general managers or presidents of basketball, whatever you want to call them, the number is actually way below $2 million. Most come in closer to $1 million. So I think he's getting double the money here as an offer of what a normal person should get. Now, he's not a normal person. He's Mr. Big Shot. He's a big-time brand in and of himself. And he's sitting at ESPN where he's doing a phenomenal job on the air and presumably can continue to do that. So I think for him, it's more about the right fit for the long term. If he really wants to do this job, it shouldn't come down to the money. It should come down more to the opportunity. To your point on that graphic, seems to be we cycle through quite a few people at this organization. rather than having stability and long-term opportunity to make your imprint for the next 5-10 years. So it's curious to me the way this news broke, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's only really 3 weeks where you need somebody at the helm making these decisions, and we just passed 2 of them with the draft and with free agency. So it may be a while before there's somebody in Cleveland.
Brian, you want to weigh in on something like this, considering, like, what this position is and what Griffin did previously in trying to balance this position?
Well, Tom brings up a lot of good points. I mean, we have to remember who we're talking about here with Dan Gilbert. He doesn't value this position. He doesn't value this position. So if Chauncey's going in looking for $4 million, which I understand why he would want that. Like, Tom's right about what entry-level GM salaries are, and some people look at Pelinka and go, well, wait a minute, how come he's making all this money with the Lakers? Well, there's another concept of it that he's been in the league. He's been an agent. He's been part of this thing for a really long time, and Chauncey's come from the outside. But I remember when Mark Jackson wanted a head coaching gig. It's like, well, why don't you become an assistant? Mark Jackson's like, because I'm Mark Jackson. I don't need to wait around. And guess what? He didn't have to. He ended up getting the head coaching gig. Jason Kidd got a head coaching gig right away. Some of these guys that are such big-name players go, why would I have to wait and be an assistant GM or take less money than anybody else? I don't need to do that. Let me start the ticker at an even higher number. The problem is Chauncey maybe trying to do it with one of the cheapest owners when it comes to this position, which is so ironic because the last thing you could ever call Gilbert is cheap. Gilbert has been the furthest thing from cheap as an owner his entire time in Cleveland. He just doesn't think the GM should make that much money. He hasn't re-signed any of them.
It's fascinating, too, because the GM's going to be pivotal in the next year with the idea of LeBron potentially leaving.
But I do think the biggest thing that we learned from that story, and I talked to some sources yesterday about this, the idea that once Billups turned it down, we all just go, LeBron's out of here. He had talked to Chauncey. Chauncey's like, all right, and that's just not true. That conversation did not happen, according to multiple people that I talked to, and then Chauncey even backed that up in his piece with was it The Undefeated, where that came out last night. So there you go.
Well, I think it's also interesting how much of that determined also Chauncey's decision, thinking that potentially LeBron may not stay.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that happened, though.
And he's friends with Ty Lue, right?
People thought LeBron was leaving before the whole Chauncey thing. So
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing if you're Chauncey. You're like, wait a minute, you just gave Ty Lue like $7 million and he hadn't been a coach before? And it's just, I mean, we don't have to actually dig that deep. Gilbert's not going to pay the GM a lot, and I could totally understand why Chauncey would want to get paid because he's Chauncey Billups.
Ryan, thank you so much. Reason, that's what he brings here to the set. Tom, thank you so much as well, bringing the numbers as well as Reason as well. Now, let's just throw Reason out the door and let's claim the Sixers are going to win the NBA Finals, right? Because
have fun with that.
All
right, go ahead.
All right.
This is your part of the show.
This is my part because I've trusted the process for quite some time. Kevin Durant liking what he sees from Markelle Fultz there, especially his first game. The Hesse pull-up Jimbo, what's that?
Hesse pull-up Jimbo? It's just saying like a nice heads-up pull-up. I mean, just it's back DC, like DMV talk, but a lot of basketball players, just talk like that, so it's pretty fun.
#1 pick overall in the draft last month, looking very good. The floater in the lane early on, taking on the Jazz Summer League, and this is a beautiful play. A little spin move, a little stop, pop, and drop. It looked good. That jumper was silky smooth. Big fourth quarter for Fultz. Loses control, but never really loses control. Inside, can play both guard positions, combo guard at 6'4", 195 pounds. In this fourth quarter, he had 13 points. That step-back threes is money right there. Sixers would lose. He finished the game with 23 points. I'm sure KD and many pleased.
The Celtics, they know it's early, but man, would they love to believe that this guy is going to be for real. And so far, he looks like it. And he's also making his mom very proud.
You want him to do so well, but you give him that pregame speech too, like, just be calm down and do your best, and it'll all work out. But I was so proud of him. 21 points in his debut. I did get on him, though. I was like, I need 3 more rebounds, a double-double.
Pass from Jason Tatum, looking for that double-double for his mom against the Spurs here off the missed 3. He comes flying in. Look at that putback jam. We're going to show it to you one more time. Tatum ended up with 10 rebounds in the game, just like his mother ordered. How about that? And then later, Tatum off the ball there on the wing, cuts backdoor, finishes with the huge 2-hand slam. Another look there. Pretty impressive. Tatum having himself a game. And here off the Spurs turnover, He gets it ahead. Yep, another one. 23 points, 10 rebounds for Jason Tatum, who is making those folks up in Boston smile really, really big, Jay Harris.
Yeah, Lindsay Zarniak. Last night, the official SportsCenter Twitter handle sent out this image with a quote from Celtics draftee Jason Tatum about Kobe Bryant. "That's my favorite player. He was. Then I went to the Celtics." And Tatum responded to that with the crying, laughing emoji and a little shrug of the shoulders, because he's like, you know, I'm in Boston, I'm wearing green, Kobe is a Laker, and y'all know there's this rivalry thing going on, so yeah, he's not my favorite player anymore, sorry. Love Kobe, but don't anymore, sorry.
And it's time now to check in on our morning lineups. D'Angelo Williams, he is wrestling with his future, figuratively and literally. What's next for the running back? We're going to talk about that at 9:32 Eastern. Plus, Magic Johnson and the Lakers, they are already getting ready for the 2018 offseason. Ryan Russillo returning with his take on the plan out in L.A. That's at 9:46. Stay with us.
Ahead on SportsCenter today, Ian Begley recently wrote an article titled "How Carmelo Anthony Escapes from New York." Our Knicks insider brings his insight at 11 Eastern. Plus, Chris Bryant is awaiting a 4 p.m. announcement to see if fans have voted him into next week's All-Star game. He joins the show live at 11:20 Eastern to discuss. Meanwhile, the Celtics are still trying to finalize a deal for Gordon Hayward. Catch Ramona Shelburne live at 12:30 Eastern with the very latest. And as always, you can catch it all on the ESPN app.
They have to go into the corner to Waiters. Fade away. Hit it at the horn. Holy cow. Waiters with the hoop. Waiters against Lee Thompson. 3 for the win. Got it! Oh, Waiters! From downtown!
They're the moments you want to live for, especially against a great team like that. I'm in the zone right now. I'm not afraid of them type of moments. I truly believe in them type of moments. And man, it feels good, man. It feels good.
Quite a resurgence for Dion Waiters in Miami last season, and especially in his final 25 games of the season. The Heat went 21-4 in those games, and Waiters shot 45% from beyond the arc. So he bet on that performance by declining his $3.2 million option for this coming season. Pretty good move. He and the Heat have agreed to a 4-year deal worth $52 million.
Another good move here, Jay. NBA free agency yesterday. Swaggy P moving north from L.A. to Oakland, taking his scoring talents to the Warriors. It's a 1-year deal, just over $5 million for that 1 year for a player who averaged 13 points for the Lakers last season. Now, new teammate Kevin Durant made sure to welcome Nick Young to the squad with this iconic miss 3 years ago, where Swaggy was the last to know the shot found more iron than nylon. He tweeted that picture out, retweeted over 80,000 times. It's the miss that keeps on giving, by the way. And that tweet continues, and it's exceeded now 85,000 retweets in the last 18, 19 hours. Lindsay?
Yeah, Kevin, he's not exactly the model of consistency, although in some ways I guess Nick Young is. I'm back with Ryan Russillo now. So Nick Young will not be back with the Lakers. What do you make of these moves, them clearing space for the future?
It's the only move, really, at this point. If you're the Lakers, and they can say they're not rebuilding, it's such a dirty word when you talk to the marketing side of a team and the sponsorship.
Rebuilding, yeah.
It's almost like we have a really hard time with the truth, and they're rebuilding.
Right.
It's okay to say that we're rebuilding. They don't want to say it. But this is about Magic being in a position with Rob Pelinka, who's terrific as well, and being able to say to guys, when all of these dudes are free agents next summer, and we're sitting out here talking about it again, that we have space and we want to build something. Because as impressive as Magic is as a person and his resume, it's not going to matter in L.A. until there's already another star in place. These players don't go anywhere unless there's somebody already there. So keeping Nick Young for another $5 million or any of these smaller pieces, it doesn't really mean anything. Everything should be 1-year deals, and everything with the Lakers should be built around Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram.
And what do you think of Young with the Warriors?
Well, there's this great thing with the Warriors. Your life just becomes that much easier. And really, I can't think of any circumstance if I were a GM if I'd be like, I got to get JaVale McGee. But if I were the Warriors, I'd want JaVale McGee. And JaVale McGee was terrific
why not,
for them.
right?
Everything's easy. We're not going to ask you to do anything. So all Nick Young has to do now is take all these wide open shots because all the other guys are going to be the defensive priority. So Nick Young's going to be loving life up there. And I mean, he's a great shooter. But when you take the ball out of Nick Young's hands now where he doesn't have to make decisions, then that's the best Nick Young that you can get. it's a little different when he's running the offense and making all these decisions. He doesn't have to do any of this stuff. He's never going to have an easier time in his NBA career than what he's going to have with Golden State this year.
So basically, they let Nick Young be Nick Young. All right, Ryan Russillo, thank you.
The shooting Nick Young.
Exactly. Right, that one. All right, still ahead here, the best from around the sport.
And what the heck's going on here? The Cavs made a below-market salary offer of $2 million annually to Chauncey Billups to serve as their president of basketball operations. Our Chris Haynes and Mark Spears are reporting this. $4 million, typically the starting point of what an individual in that role should earn, according to league sources. We need more. We welcome in our NBA analyst, Ryan Russillo, who is with us right now, an NBA front office insider who comes to us from L.A., Tom Penn. Tom, I'm going to start with you. You were in an NBA front office for 11 years. All exciting, I'm sure. What's your take on what's going on with Dan Gilbert and the Cavaliers organization right now?
So curious to not have a main decision maker in basketball operations in this particular window of time. The draft and free agency, it's when everything is happening. And what they've done is they've added Jose Calderon to a minimum deal. Not exactly going to move the needle. So I find it just so odd that at this particular time of the year, that organization has chosen to go leaderless, so to speak. The top two in basketball ops move out. And Dan Gilbert is obviously making these decisions himself and is very involved and engaged, knows basketball. He can pull the trigger on deals. But at this time of year, Linda, it's not just simple linear deals. You try to hoist yourself into everything that goes on and see if you can make yourself better while all these other trades are happening. Get into a simultaneous trade. So I find it odd that they haven't had a way to attack this and get the right kind of leader in there. It's been Chauncey or nothing. They offered Chauncey apparently $2 million, which he has deemed to be below market. Others would argue that's just fine. You know, I'm not going to get into that point. Right. But they need somebody in the middle of all these deals to try to make their team better. That's the job of the basketball operations leader, and they don't have one.
I think the biggest thing here is that if you're looking at Chauncey Billups, he does not think, as Tom points out, that entry-level money. Like, he's going, I'm Chauncey Billups. Like,
right.
I'm not. Like, I know what other entry-level guys make, but, you know,
my stock is high right now.
Right, so I'm not going to settle here. And if we know one thing about Dan Gilbert that's consistent is that he'll pay any amount of salary. He is the furthest thing from cheap. Highest payroll again this year. Did it the last time LeBron was there. Paid Ty Lue a ton of money, but he does not value this position. So for whatever reason, the way he plans out his business model, when it comes to a team, he does not value financially this position. Yeah. And so if Chauncey was looking for that big payday, which other teams may have done, even though he hasn't done the job before, because they just go on the basketball resume, that wasn't going to happen here for Billups with Dan Gilbert.
He's been consistent, at least in that area. Our Ramona Shelburne and Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that the Celtics are working to clear cap space for Gordon Hayward's max contract, discussing trades involving, you guys know the names, Marcus Smart, Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley. Tom, to you, what's the most likely scenario for the Celtics to get this done?
Well, it's been expensive so far. You know, every time we would create all that cap room on the cap machine, we never really showed what it took to get who they had to lose to create enough space, and they're not quite there yet. It's been hard so far. Tyler Zeller was waived, and then look at it. Olenek, Jerebko, Young, and Green all renounced, meaning that they take their number off the books and lose whatever preferred rights they have. That frees up the cap space, but they're not done yet. They still need to shave a couple $1 million or $1 million. How depends how you look at it. And they're going to have to move one or two players. So the conversation is around some of these key rotation players at bigger numbers. And, you know, Ryan, I don't know who you think they're most likely to move. It's hard to just speculate because you have to know what they're going to get back for that player. They're not going to just move them to get rid of them if you're talking about Crowder or Avery Bradley. But I don't know. What's your thought? Who should they move?
Well, I think that last point's a really good one because when we start looking at the cap crunch here, I've just heard people in the last 18 hours or so ask the questions of, well, you just have to dump these guys. They're all assets. You would want Marcus Smart. You would want Avery Bradley. And you would absolutely want Jay Crowder because he has an outdated contract. He's $7 million per, turns 27 today. He's under contract for about 3 more years, just over that $7 million mark. So there will be teams, especially teams with cap space, that miss out on free agency that would want these. So I think the battle, if you're the Celtics here now, is positional depth and saying maybe Crowder Hayward doesn't necessarily fit, but we know the cost certainty of what Crowder is, as opposed to Bradley, who I'm sure they'd rather keep as the
basketball player, but knowing that his new contract is going to be far beyond what Crowder's getting paid right now.
Definitely an area worth watching with both of you, Ryan and Tom. You guys will be back next hour, of course, and talk about a possible landing spot for Carmelo Anthony. Look forward to that. Our next WNBA game of the week is a rematch of last year's